Welcome back, everyone. It's week 5 of the NFL, and the line movers are back to bring you another week of NFL games. We have 7 featured games this week. We have a couple more things we're going to bring you and a little quick conversation. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at _LM Network, Zach Scarborough 6, Nick. You can follow Nick at Wise Guys Nick, and you can find me at Tyler Liddick. You can find us on YouTube, the Line Movers Network. You can find us anywhere, podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. You can also find Nick on the same outlets under the Wise Guys, Iowa Wise Guys podcast as well, talking college football. So let's get into this week, guys. First thing we want to talk about, guys, is live betting and why it's important to be able to live bet. Mainly on every sport, but right now we're in the NFL. Basketball is coming up, so important to know when to take a live betting opportunity or even when to lay off a pre-flop bet and find a better number live. So, Nick, I'll let you lead, and then Zach, you can go ahead and follow.
Yeah, you mentioned right there a couple of sports that really makes sense to do in-game wagering or live betting. NFL is one of them where your pre-flop lines are set. They're very calculated, maybe some of the most calculated lines you'll see in any sport. So being able to have access to in-game wagering, if you prefer a side or lean to a side, depending on who, maybe somebody that scores first or maybe somebody has a bad quarter, you can look at the in-game flow of the game and be able to make an in-game wager. I think that's a good way to do it in the NFL because, again, those pre-flop lines are so tight. And in basketball, especially in-game wagering, where basketball is a sport where teams make a lot of big runs and you can catch a line. Most of my college basketball wagering is in-game, where teams go on runs and you can find a good line on the team that you like.
I agree. I mean, my two sports with the line movers is the NFL and NBA. I do a majority of my betting in game, trying to find middles. If you're not sure about a game to start, you can always, like Nick said, look for something in play. Team gets 2 quick scores or pick 6 or something. My kind of rule of thumb, especially in the NFL, is if I see a line or a total move by 10 points, I kind of take the other side, thinking it's going to come back to where those lines were set. Huge opportunities. If you have a bet before the game and you're able to get a big middle of 10 or more points, you might want to throw a quarter or half unit on the other side, trying to get that middle. It's going to come back to the median more often than not. So definitely in-game wagering is a huge bonus. If you don't have that available to you, I would look for a new site where you do have it available to you.
Yeah, I think basically what you're looking for when you're live betting is the team that you thought would win or cover a spread to be losing initially. You want them to start losing the game by 10 or so points, whether it's basketball, football, or if it's baseball, get down a run or 2 in the first inning. You get the line flipped maybe in your favor, you get the plus money then. Tennis, lose the first set. Basically what you're looking for is a slow start, and then you can capitalize on that. You can maybe get a -300 for a -125, -140, and so on. So without further ado, let's get into this week's NFL week 5. It's NFL Sunday. We got 7 games. We're going to start on Thursday. But before we get started, what team in the NFL right now is in panic mode? And I don't mean the Detroit Lions. I mean a team that could or thought they were going to go to the playoffs that might not be headed there. Nick?
I'd say the first team that comes to mind to me is the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that really thought that coming into the season that Ben was It's kind of a swan song last year. They thought they had the pieces around him offensively. They made some trades for some defensive key pieces. I think that they thought that they would be in the hunt for an AFC North title and a playoff berth. And right now, sitting at 1-3, obviously they're at the bottom of the standings looking up. And I do believe that they are a better team than they're showing, but they're not a playoff team. I do like Pittsburgh this week against Denver at home, but I think that you're going to see a Pittsburgh team probably end the season around 500 or slightly below 500.
I agree. I mean, that's kind of the obvious one right now. Quarterback and coach duo that's been a dynasty for so long now. I mean, they had to go rebuild their offensive line, who started to look better last week, but still they didn't do anything with that in the offseason. Ben's just getting too old and up there in age. And I don't see them going to the playoffs. Another team that I'll just throw out there that kind of worried me last week, losing to the Jets, the Titans, missing down 3 offensive linemen, missing AJ Brown and Julio. I don't know if they're going to be back. Defense, secondary. I think I could go out there and play secondary for what I saw at the end of that game last week. That was just horrendous. Something to look for in them. I mean, they're banged up, missing a lot of guys. We'll see how they're playing the Jags this week. They should get a win there, but they should have won last week versus the Jets too.
Yeah, good answers. I don't see any team in a worse downward spiral than the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And Nick, I don't think they can save it. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger has anything left. So let's get into this week's action.
The one positive thing for Pittsburgh is that they play the entire NFC North this year. And looking at that division outside of Green Bay, that could be beneficial. But I do agree with you. I don't think they're getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, they got a long road ahead, and I think the sooner they bench Ben, the better. So we'll see what happens. So we're going to start this week on Thursday Night Football. We got the LA Rams going to visit the Seattle Seahawks. Divisional battle. It opened up at the Rams -1. It's now -2.5. We got an over-under of 54.5 currently. It was 53. Nick, what do you got here?
This is a tough game for me. I think both teams coming off a loss. Right now the trends are showing that home field advantage is not really making much of a difference in the NFL this year. I do think that this is going to be a hard-fought game. I do love Seattle in a teaser situation, and I think that they'll be a part of a teaser situation for me that I'll give out later on in the show. Otherwise, I probably would take the Rams. I don't think Seattle's secondary can keep up with the Rams passing game, but I do like the Rams. I think ATS, and I like Seattle in teasers.
I like it. I jumped on this as soon as I got the Rams -1 as soon as this came out. Seahawks did look good last week. Well, not in the first half, but second half, they really came alive. The Rams coming off of that loss, I think McVay's something like 5-1 against the spread coming off a divisional loss. But then on the other side, you got Russell Wilson, who's won 9 consecutive Thursday Night Football games. The Seahawks defense is giving up like 450 yards a game to much lesser offenses than the Rams. McVay is going to come out very prepared. I think the Rams are just better on both sides of the ball. I think Seattle's going to struggle offensively. Like they're very inconsistent offensively. I lean towards the under this divisional game. But that being said, I think the Rams are going to score. And when the Rams score, Russell Wilson's going to be running around making plays. I love the Rams here. Don't disagree with Nick at the Seahawks in the teaser spot, getting that up. But took the Rams at 1, like them at 2.5. I like them to win this game.
And I should clarify. I didn't, when I was talking about home field advantage, I said Seattle is coming off a loss. I meant their last their last home game. They lost to Tennessee. So that's, I wanted to clarify that. I do know they won against San Fran last week, but
Yeah, I think Seattle kind of got a gift last week with the quarterback situation in San Fran. Also, I don't think Trey Lance is ready. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is ever going to be the answer. So we'll find out. I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Rams are going to win. All right, moving on to Sunday. We got the ever spiraling downward Pittsburgh Steelers against Drew Lock, possibly still playing for Teddy Bridgewater, who had the Broncos going in the right direction until he was concussed. Do the Steelers continue going downhill, Zach?
I mean, it's really tough to watch. Like we mentioned, this has been such a good coach quarterback duo for so long. And I like the Steelers. I always kind of pull for them and root for them. It's tough to watch. I don't think Denver is that good of a team. They won their first 3 games against nobody's combined record of 0-9 teams. I don't know. I lean Pittsburgh in this game at home in a must win, but enough to bet on them. Don't think so. This total's sitting at, I think, 39.5 now, down from 41.5. Probably too low for me to take, but with Locke starting, who was just horrendous last week with like a 6.6 QBR there in the second half. I don't know how either offense is going to score points against these defenses. I lean towards the under, lean Pittsburgh, but really don't have a play and don't really want to watch the game, to be honest.
yeah, I think Denver benefited from some early competition that maybe wasn't as strong as some of these other teams have seen. With that said, Teddy Bridgewater was an against the spread. He was an ATS cover machine as a starting quarterback in the NFL. And I don't think Drew Lock is the same type of quarterback. I do like Pittsburgh here. I will be playing Pittsburgh in this situation at home against Denver on Sunday.
Yeah, it's complete stay away from me. I've seen enough from Pittsburgh. You've put them in the same category as, the same teams I'd stay away from in college football, the Wisconsin, the Texas A&Ms. I think Pittsburgh is hot garbage right now. Their wide receivers don't have any separation. Ben Roethlisberger's throwing the ball all over the place, even when he had a couple of wide receivers with a step in Green Bay on some blown coverages. He even blew the throws. So it was a complete stay away from me. And if anything, I think this will probably be, I don't know. This is probably looking like an under game to me, but it's not a bettable game for me. There's no feel for either team here. But moving on to two teams playing some very good football right now. We got the Green Bay Packers 3-1, Cincinnati Bengals 3-1. So we have a spread of -3. It's still at -3. It opened and it is still at -3. It hasn't gone anywhere. And the over-under was at 48. It is now at 51. I do think Jair Alexander might be missing for this game for the Packers. That'll be a big bonus for the Bengals and Jamar Chase. What's going to happen here? Are the Packers really going to miss him in the secondary? Zach?
Yeah, I mean, the Packers are beat up. I mean, they're missing 2 linebackers and 2 corners, what it's going to look like to start this game. They're also missing 2 offensive linemen. Not sure that's going to matter. Their offensive line hasn't looked particularly great all season, but Aaron Rodgers is combating that with getting the ball out of his hand, super fast, accurate to his playmakers. This worries me. I mean, if Green Bay was fully healthy, it's a no-brainer, but I'm not sure the line would be sitting where it is. Going on the road, since he's had more rest, given that they played the Thursday night game, so they've had longer to prepare. I don't know. Since he looks like they're going to be fully healthy, should get everybody back. I don't know. This is a tough game for me. I'm going to kind of lean towards the over. I think Green Bay is going to score points regardless, even with the offensive line troubles. I think they're going to score points. And with all these players missing for Green Bay on the defensive end, Cincy with Joe Burrow in that receiving core should also be able to score points. So I lean to the over in this game.
Yeah, I agree with Zach. I think the over is what you need to look at here. Cincinnati's defense is a little banged up here too, and their secondary has a couple of guys that were out last week. I think they might be healthy enough to play this week, but no given. And anytime Eli Apple, if you guys have watched Cincinnati play at all this year, Eli Apple is terrible in coverage, and teams are consistently picking on him. Aaron Rodgers will have a heyday with Eli Apple in coverage. And likewise, I think that the Packers secondary is banged up. I think Joe Burrow is going to be able to connect on some passes down the field. So I like the over in this as well. I don't have a strong opinion on a side here. If you had to play this with it 3 or better, I would probably be looking to Cincinnati. If you like Green Bay, I'd do what you could to get it under 3, but I like the over in this game.
Yeah. I think I'm a Bengals backer this week, and I think the loss of Jair Alexander is going to be huge for the Packers. Kevin King is already a liability at all times in the secondary. Jair Alexander was big. He could take away the whole side of one side of the field. So that's a huge loss. And Burrow already has a great wide receiving core with no injuries on the wide receiving core. With Joe Mixon questionable, I look for him to keep airing the ball out. That seems to be what works for the Bengals. If you've watched the Thursday night game against Jacksonville, they ran the ball into the wall of Jacksonville's defense and then threw the ball downfield in a couple of plays and scored touchdowns. So if Cincinnati was smart, they had 10 days to game plan for this. I think they're going to throw the ball. And then with that injury, they should throw it even more. The over looks good, but I like Cincinnati here taking the points at home. If you can find a 3.5 closer to game time, I'd take it, but I think it's going to go the other way. 4 p.m. Bears at Raiders. Bears probably going back to Andy Dalton this week. Matt Nagy can't make up his mind. And the Raiders lose on Monday Night Football to the Chargers. Couldn't get anything going. Derek Carr cannot stop getting sacked. The offensive line is a liability. Nick?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like this line. I don't like the line sitting at 5. I think the Bears are a better team with Andy Dalton at quarterback. And with that line play in Vegas, the strongest unit in Chicago might be their defensive line and their pass rush. So I would tend to lean to Chicago. I'm not going to play this game, but I would probably lean towards Chicago. I don't know how they protect Carr in this situation with that defensive line against that offensive line. I think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, I don't like anything about this game. I don't really like anything about watching the Bears at all this year. I think Matt Nagy's a terrible coach. I don't think he's doing his team justice with all the back and forth on the quarterback. It's hard to practice. It's hard to prepare. It's hard for your team to really get behind you when your coach is so indecisive. That being said, yes, the Raiders had a major problem in protecting last week, and that's only going to get worse with this week. I don't know. I think Chicago's 0-2 on the road. They've lost both games by 20 points to some pretty good teams. So you got to look there. This is probably too many points for a really overrated Vegas team that came out of the gates hot. I'm not touching anything in this game. If I had to lean some way, it's going to be an under in any Bears because I think they're just going to struggle to score. They're also down David Montgomery, who's their best offensive player. He's not going to be playing. So I don't know what they're going to do. They're also down one of their best defensive. Akeem Nicks is out too. So I don't know. I lean towards the under, but don't really have anything on this game.
You know, one thing I was thinking about too is the Khalil Mack factor going back to play the Raiders, an organization that got rid of him and they had some animosity there on his exit. You know, is he motivated to have he hasn't really been a factor all year. Is he motivated to have a big game? But I do agree with Zach. I don't have an official play on this game either.
Yeah, the Bears could have lost last week if the Lions could have stopped turning the ball over in the red zone. So really, I don't think that either of these teams are great teams. Just when I believed in the Raiders, I have reason not to believe in the Raiders. Yeah, you can't go anywhere with that offensive line. So is basically a stay away from me. But if Andy Dalton is starting and the Bears score early, I would look to grab a Raiders live in play wager, because I don't think Andy Dalton can lead the Bears to a victory. He's prone to turning the ball over, and I think the Raiders offensive or defensive line can get after Andy Dalton as well. So on to the next one, 4 p.m. The Browns 3-1 at the Chargers 3-1. I think this is a 1-point spread it started out at, and it started out at a pick 'em and it's now 1.5. Chargers are -1.5. Started out at 50.5. It's now 47. Zach, what do you got?
I'm really looking forward to this game. This is going to be an awesome football game. Over under what started at 50.5, moved down to 47, understandably, with the way both of these defenses have played. Not the Chargers starting out the season, but definitely last week, and are really looking, really coming together. Browns have given up 13 points in their last 2 games, given up 7 points to the Vikings in Minnesota was highly impressive. They now got to travel across the country to an offense that's clicking on all cylinders. Herbert, Eckler out of the backfield has been sensational. Herbert's unbelievable throwing the ball down the field. He's got weapons everywhere. They're going to score. I would imagine the Browns are going to lean on Chubb and Hunt to try to keep the ball out of that, offense's hands. So I can see why the under has dropped, and I lean that way. I'm going to say the Chargers are going to get the win at home with probably, I think they have the better offense, better quarterback right now. I'm going to lean them at home, the 1.5, the short spread.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to this game. I think this is going to be a back and forth battle, and I think you give the edge to the Chargers with Cleveland going out west. I do think that like you stated, the Chargers defense has stepped up. The Browns defense is playing well. I do like the thought of maybe putting Cleveland in some teasers, getting through the 3 and the 7. I think that's going to be a popular choice this week. So I do think this is going to be a back and forth battle. That teaser might be my favorite play, but if I'm playing the spread, I think I'm going to take the Chargers at -1 or -1.5.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great game. Basically, you got 2 defensive lines that are coming after the quarterback all game long, relentlessly. Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney from Cleveland, and then you got Bosa and the guys up front for the Chargers. They were really getting after Carr on Monday night, and they stayed home. They don't have to travel, and the West Coast time always messes with the East Coast guys. So it's more of a 1 o'clock game for Cleveland. I don't know if it's not going to be too much of a factor, I don't think. But the main thing is the nightlife, the life in LA. Hopefully that's not a distraction. The same thing about Miami. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a great game. I actually kind of like Cleveland on the money line. I do like their run game more, and you got to run the ball to win in the NFL. And Kevin Stefanski is really relying on that run in Cleveland, and I like it. And they got 2 guys that can run the ball, even if one gets hurt. Not that I think one will. They have a 2-headed monster that are both proven running backs in the NFL. So I like Cleveland on the money line, and I think they're going to keep winning.
Not only can they run, they can catch the ball out of the backfield and make people miss too. So
yeah. And that's both running backs. So that's something that you don't often see. So it's not a dead giveaway when they switch backs. What's going on? Okay, 49ers, another 4 o'clock game. We got the 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals, the last undefeated team. Are they going to stay undefeated this week, Nick?
Absolutely, yes. I believe that this line, I'm surprised it's not higher than what it is. That Arizona defense obviously showed up last week. They've had a great year this far, and I don't see how Trey Lance can lead the Niners to a victory on the road against this Arizona defense. I'll take Arizona big time.
yeah, I mean, it's hard not to like that. I mean, this thing opened at 2.5, shot to 5.5, which is where I think it currently sits right now. Yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray, that offense paired with a defense that, was super underrated, I guess, to start the season. They've looked fantastic. And the 49ers have not looked particularly great. They also have, kind of same thing as last year, not as many injuries, but they're still injured. Jimmy Garoppolo out. Trey Lance did not look very good. Definitely did not look ready. They're going to have to work on getting the ball out of his hand as fast as they can to their playmakers, which they have a lot of them. And they're going to have to lean on their running game and keep the ball out of Kyler Murray in that explosive offense's hands. San Francisco has won the last 2 meetings in Arizona. I just don't see it this week. Is a divisional game, could be tighter than we think. Yeah, give me the Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't think this is the same San Francisco defense we're used to seeing. They're weak in the secondary and their pass rush isn't what it always has been. So I do think 5.5 is a lot of points, but if you're looking for a bet in this game, I'd probably look for the Arizona Cardinals team total over. You probably find that somewhere in the 27.5, 28 range. I'm not 100% sure on that though, but that would probably be my play because I do think Arizona can throw the ball and run the ball, and they'll mix it up. And the last game we have on the schedule, Bills and Chiefs. Bills and Chiefs, 3-point spread down to 2.5. Bills are playing great. Chiefs defense is horrible. What's going to happen here, Nick? What do you see? What do you got?
I think this is going to be a heck of a game, and I wish that the spread was 3 or higher. I would like Buffalo in that situation. The 2.5 makes it a little more difficult. The Chiefs defense is atrocious at this point. I think Josh Allen's going to have a heyday and score some points. But again, to beat the Chiefs, obviously you do have to outscore them, but this Chiefs offense is clicking. They had a great game last week. They got rid of the turnovers. Buffalo's defense is, I think, a solid defense. They've been underperforming slightly this year. This is a tough game for me. I think if it's under 3, I think you have to take the home team and the Chargers, the Chiefs. But I think this is going to be a shootout. I would consider. What'd you say the over or the total was?
Total
50.
in this game is 56.5. It's up to 57.
Yeah, I'd probably lean to the over in this game. I think there's going to be a lot of points, a lot of fireworks.
I also lean to the over. I jumped on the Bills +3 as soon as it came out. If you're going to give me the Bills, I think what they have outscored their opponents in the last 3 games, 118-21. 2 of those being shutouts against, obviously inferior teams than the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Kansas City Chiefs are also giving up 7 yards per play on defense, the worst in the NFL. They do have a good defensive coordinator. They do have an excellent head coach. They got his, 100th win with 2 teams, only coach to ever do that. So I do expect them to get better as the season goes on. But against this Bills offense, I don't see it. I think both teams are going to score. Chiefs at home, going to make a statement. You never really want to bet against the Chiefs, especially a game like this. This is where they come out and say, this is why we've been to the Super Bowl the last 2 years. But yeah, I see both teams scoring. If you're going to give me the Bills and 3 points, I'm going to take it all day. Probably wouldn't take it at 2.5. I'd buy it up to 3. If it's at 2.5, like Nick said, might want to lean towards the Chiefs. I don't know. I just can't bet against the Bills at plus money or plus getting points right now. Not the way they've looked. And I mean, last week against Houston, yes, Houston is a horrible team in a wreck, but they should have won 60-0. I mean, I think they kicked like 5 field goals in the red zone. So they're clicking on all cylinders. I don't see Kansas City's defense making any big improvements from last week to this week. Lean the over, and I already took the Bills.
Yeah, I think my play here is the Bills in the first half. Team total over. I got it at 12.5. I think it's at 13.5 now, but I think it's kind of a dead giveaway. If you're going to play this game, that if you're going to play the over anywhere, you want to play that. So that's my play on that game. That wraps us up for featured games this week. Nick will have a teaser of the week for us. We're going to post that online for you guys. Hopefully we can hit it this week. It was unsuccessful last week with the Jets coming through, getting their first W of the year.
That was a killer. 9 of 11 teaser legs last week that fit the criteria won. 9 and 11. Of course, I had one of the two losers in the Titans. Disappointed in their performance, but we'll get back on it this week. We'll be all right.
Yeah, we're going to give you guys one for the rest of the year till week 18. So keep checking us out on Twitter at @the_LM Network. You can find Nick at Wise Guys Nick. You find Zach as well, Zach Scarborough 6, and I'm on there, Tyler Liddick. So you'll be able to check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon as well. Anywhere you can find podcasts. Thanks for listening, guys. Let us know what games you want us to feature or any lessons you want us to teach. Just comment on the video. Let us know. Our Westgate picks, we finally had a successful week. We went 3-2. Hopefully we can build on that. We almost went, we were sniffing at the door on a couple more. We totally missed on Oakland. So other than that, let's have another successful week gambling, guys. Good luck. Nick, I'll see you in Iowa shortly, and Penn State, Iowa. Let's go.
Safe travels, my man. Talk to you guys later.
Yep. Enjoy some fantastic week 5 matchups.
This video was brought to you by River Donkeys Poker Club, but not in association with the Line Movers Network. Start playing today by downloading the app on Google Play or the Apple iTunes Store by searching for Poker, 4 R's with the number 2. Search for the group 5AZR7 to start playing poker today.